There's a lot of horror games out there, which is why when a fun or unique one, or one with a Fuzzy as the main character comes out, it's a hit. But I found one that slipped through the cracks. A horror game where you work a job. Give me another win! Come on! With it having elements of FNAF, and with it kind of being the FNAF game I've wanted for a long time. And this game is... Unison. This $9 Steam game has a lot of content, and its gameplay loop being nothing too different, and it kept me engaged. The game was developed by Blank Dream Studios, a solo dev who before this game had made 2 other games, with them both getting positive reception, and one being a free game with a paid chapter on the way. But development was stopped for that to work on something new, which was shown on November 26, 2023, with a photo showing the words "Death in Unison" and a man standing behind bars, with it saying this is a brand new co-op only experience. A video teaser was shown on January 21st, 2024, and then another teaser showing how this game works and kind of like an introductory to it, which this video would become the game's intro. Progress was shown more and more until a release date, August 29th, 2024, and it now being a co-op and solo horror game, with the co-op definitely being the main selling point, with it being great for streamers and just losing friends in general. So with that, let's start the game and see what Death in Unison is all about. Now, how does this game work? We work as an administrator on Corden Island Institute, which is an island institution that is holding some of the most notorious criminals on the planet, with some having supernatural powers. And your goal is to survive each night doing your duties as administrator while avoiding these criminals. Let's start with the co-op side of things. You and another person are put into 2 separate rooms. You can't see each other's rooms, but you can talk using walkie-talkies. And with this, you both have to do tasks and avoid enemies while the timer ticks down. So teamwork is very important here, basically, is what I'm saying. Because if your teammate dies, the run is basically over unless you get insane RNG or are close to the night ending. So it's FNAF if it was 3D and actually tried something new instead of trying to be like every other horror game. Now on the solo end, it's the same thing, but it's all on you, all in one room. Now for this video, I'm going to be playing the game and looking into it, looking at its secrets and why it's a good horror game, and then I'll tie it all together and explain this game at the end. Because yes, this game does have lore. And then I'll touch on the co-op, since there's nothing really to talk about that you won't figure out from the solo game. And co-op should be safe for you to try out and play with a friend, since it's really fun. So without further ado, let's begin our first day. Opening the game, we are met with a training video, telling us some of the things I just discussed, but if it wasn't clear, I'll just let this play so it's more obvious.
Greetings, trusted person. This is your standard introduction to your deadliest Institute of Rehabilitation. What is about to be discussed is highly confidential. By law, you are not allowed to share any information about the Institute with anyone. Your deadliest is a covered facility, housing the most notorious criminals on the planet. Your role is administration. Register to remove into the database as quick as possible. If you are working with others, communicate clearly using the walkie-talkies to transmit important information. Wrong entries will incur a penalty. Around you is your office space. All security devices are running automatically to keep you safe, except for the blackout period, which will temporarily leave all security capabilities in your office into manual mode. Make sure to be aware of your surroundings when blackout occurs and act accordingly to keep yourself safe and on harbor stepping up. Most of all, enjoy yourself.
Seems legit. We are now at the main menu with there being play and watch co-op training video and replay introduction video. And since we get the idea of these, we hit play, selecting solo and campaign. We can then select the difficulty, with dynamic making the game gradually easier with each death, and then reset when you complete a day. And classic, which is just normal difficulty and nothing gets easier. With me selecting classic, since I've beaten Shipwreck 64 with no videos and nothing can stop me. And loading in. We see on the computer in front of us is a message reading, "The Maddox family would like to welcome you to your first day at the Corden Institute." And then the controls, which are very simple and straightforward, with the next slide saying, "Mail. Every day you will receive new mail. Be sure to check them." Database contains a list of the convicts and how to counter their behavior. This database will grow as you encounter them. Guidebook contains a lot of useful information about controls, duties, and more. Convict admittance. This is used for your first duty. Refer to the duty training screen in your office to learn more. And last, roster. When ready, use this to clock in and begin your first day. So the first thing, like it said, is check your mail, with there being one email from Doug, the shift supervisor. Your first shift. Who Doug is our shift manager, saying how he hopes we're not too woozy from the long journey across the water, and how not to worry, it will wear off in a few days. He also says to familiarize yourself around your office, use the training duty screen to get a bit of practice on your duties before actually starting your shifts. And checking the guidebook is just simple things like how to sprint and do duties, which is a lot more complicated, but I'll get into it after. So with all that, we should now get familiar with the office. In front of us are monitors that we use to access all our info and see things for duties and such. Behind us is Mr. Beast if he didn't give that homeless dude 10K 8 years ago. There's another monitor to the right. To the left are doors which have the option to hold shut. Not concerning at all. And more monitors with screens and buttons. And a smaller door. All this may be overwhelming at first, but the game introduces things at a good pace so that you learn it all super quick and it's not overwhelming. So from there we can start the game and we figure out how the convicts escaped and get to us with blackouts. Every day the prison experiences a power cut. This shuts most of the security off for a period of time. And during this time, convicts will freely roam the prison and try to enter our office. And to protect the well-being of the convicts, they must be held back using non-lethal methods. So yeah, this big prison in the middle of the ocean, they can't fix a power problem that puts us in danger. And we have to be nice to them? This place already sucked. But upon starting, the blackout happens and we begin our first day. And even though it said convicts roam after blackouts, we are still safe for now since this is our first day. So the power comes back and a timer starts on one of the screens. So we can now tackle our first task as administrator, which is admittance forms, using the convict admittance, which is simple enough. Above your main monitor is another screen showing info like a name and a crime and such. Put the name, last name, and crime they did into the convict admittance. And the number is the danger grade, which all you have to do is look at the writing on the metal next to you. And you see the top monitor says 1, and 1 equals F. So just follow all that, and if it's done right, you're good. And on another big monitor, it shows how many you've done so far, and if you get 3 wrong, you fail, which goes for any night. And if you fail 3 tasks, the room you're in just explodes, and you cannot avoid it. Luckily, with this first night, unless you want to practice this task, you can just not do anything, and you actually get an achievement for doing so. But once the timer runs out, that's day 1 over with. And we see our stats with the base pay, form bonus, and if we get any wrong, penalty deduction to our pay. So unless you want that achievement, do as many tasks as you can this first easy day, since this payout will come in handy later.
Yeah.
Day 2 is now a whole different story because this is when you actually have to play the game. Because on this day, you still have admittance, but now you have chow, where you have to cook food for the inmates. And this day, inmates actually are in the prison. But before that, let's check our mail. And this time we have 3 messages. One from Doug. In this email, he just says we did well on our first day and how he remembers his first day and how stressful it was, and how stress at his age of 52 is too much for him nowadays. Remember this age, 52. It's really important for later. He then says Miss Maddox will be contacting us today, asking us about additional duties. And checking the mail, we see an email from Miss Maddox, aka Stacy Maddox. Clicking it, she talks about what she does here, and about how here on the island, they store many abnormal convicts who possess varying biological and genetic characteristics, some of them possessing seemingly supernatural abilities, and then explaining more about what we do here and about the new child duty. And then the last email is from security. Day 2 daily cell relocations. Multiple convicts have been relocated to nearby cell blocks. They have been added to your database with 2 names, Glom and Lux. PSA, graffiti is strictly prohibited. Draw on paper instead of walls. And with that, we have 2 new convicts to deal with and a new duty. Let's start with the convicts. Checking the database, we could see both convicts and read about them and learn about them and what we're up against. Glom, name, Russ Schmidt. Grade, D. Behavior. Rotting arms crawl out of the vents, waiting for those who are unfortunate to walk beneath to be suddenly grabbed. They hold a person for as long as they can, that being about 5 seconds, and they don't seem to do much else. Just avoid walking under them. They appear in the vents above you, and the order is random. Looking at Glom's biography, Russ was a reputable scientist and had an experiment that turned south, and so he hung up the lab coat and went into the world of crime. Became a hitman and was known for his trademark method of removing an arm from his victims after completing the jobs. He was eventually tracked down and was cornered in the city sewers. He jumped into a stormwater drain in panic and was never discovered again until he unexpectedly arrived at Corton Island. Next, let's look at Lux. box. Name, Jason Ludix. Grade E, behavior. He will steal all light energy throughout the prison, and you must select the correct code on the error screen, which is another screen located in the room. First you see the code, then find that code on the other screen, and then the lights come back. Biography. A terrorist that goes by the moniker Lux. He discovered that he was able to absorb nearby light energy into himself, so he used this to cause national-wide blackouts, and would hold ransoms for the energy to be returned. He was tracked down and sent here, and apart from his occasional psychotic outbursts, he is one of the most well-behaved convicts across the facility. So that's the first two convicts, nothing too crazy, but the effort of giving lore and backstories to these convicts is really nice. Really shows this game isn't just some quick multiplayer horror game to get quick bucks. And last for today is Chow. How this works is very simple, but it gets really overwhelming and stressful quick with later nights. First, you will hear a ping noise, and once you hear it, you will walk over to this screen which displays a timer on how long you have to cook the food before you fail. And you will see what food you need to cook, along with how cooked it needs to be from raw, cooked, and burnt. Once you look at all that, right behind it is another screen, and this is where you cook the food. Put in the food you saw from the other screen, let it cook, indicated by this bar, and once it's done, press send, and then input the number next to the meal, and that's it. Like I said, it's very simple, but it can get very overwhelming when there's a lot. Starting this night, it wasn't too bad. It's basically just stare at the wall simulator because there's nothing crazy going on yet. So I filled out some forms, fed some inmates, restored the power, got touched by the hands, lovely, and overall it was a nice simple night. Might have failed once, but we good. 30 credits at the end of the day. Actually gonna money spread. Checking mail, we have 3 new emails again. The top one being from Gerald Maddox, the founder of Corden Island Institution. He welcomes us with the warmest of welcomes and introduces himself, Gerald Lewis Maddox, the owner and founder of Corden Island Institute, and he says just to call him Gerald. He says he started this place to provide positive change to tormented people, and it's amazing to see how far it's come. He thanks us again since we're helping make it so these inmates can return to society as upstanding members of it. He also says how we'll meet some of his children who help around the island. Which then last night we got an email from Stacy Maddox, which we now know is Gerald's daughter. Next email is from Unknown. Do you? I can sense you that you can sense me. I have no one. Lost someone a while ago. Friends? And that's it. Guy talking to brick wall gift, bro. What the fuck? And last email is telling us we have 2 new convicts to deal with. Chains and Sacra. PSA. Respect is like a boomerang. It always comes back. Treat others how you want to be treated. Back to the database. Chains. Yusuf Farrington. Grade A. Behavior. Chains is always down for some mutilation. Jesus Christ. You will hear the chains wrapped around his arms, and when you do, turn the lights off with the light switch. He can't hear or see well because of the mask he wears. So when the lights are off, you're perfectly fine. But if he gets to the window and the lights are on, it's over. Simple enough. Biography. An orphan. He never had a family. He couldn't escape the endless harassment from guardians and the children at the Bright Belief orphanage. A fire started at the orphanage and left him with a disfigured face after being left chained to a bed during the inferno. What were the other orphans on, bro? What? It's just a prank. The prank. He was discovered weeks later in the burned remains. 8 disfigured children were discovered surrounding him, all chained to a railing with severe lacerations across their bodies. What a backstory, bro. Like, Batman's complaining all the time. Like, holy shit. What kind of backstory is this? Next inmate. Sacra. Name, Harvey O'Donnell. Grade C. Behavior. He will summon black holes in the floors that if you fall into, you enter a void of demise. You'll hear them pop up and just look down and you're good. They're more annoying than dangerous. Biography. A mysterious string of missing people led to the property of Sacra. A barn littered with effigies and markings uncovered the truth. The bones of the victims were found arranged in a circle. The bodies were unable to be located. The crimes weren't able to be pinned on him due to them being so strange, but Harvey and a follower were identified for planting a kidnapping, and he was caught and placed here for conspiracy. Nothing too crazy, so let's clock in. Same as last night, just 2 new convicts, and the other 2 convicts are still here, making it more and more chaotic. Starting the night with this time 5 minutes on the clock. And I just did the same old thing. Chains paid a visit, and even the portal showed up, but like I said, these are really easy threats. And overall survived another night here, and this time I didn't even fail, so we made more money. With this night, I made 40 credits. You know the drill. Emails. The top one being by Shin, who is in charge of security throughout the prison. Opening it, we see their full name is Shin Maddox. So this is another one of Gerald's kids. He talks about the security in the prison and how others call him dull, but they don't realize he's the one keeping the place from falling apart while they play with their gadgets and toys, and how most of the things in this prison are automated except the doors, which they left for us to deal with. So now we have a new duty: access. How this works is this screen with a layout of the prison will flash, and it will ask if you should open certain doors to other rooms. For instance, can I have access into F? And if the light is red, that means it's a convict asking for access. And if it's blue, that's a worker. And it can sometimes be lit up in different ways to confuse you. And overall, it's simple, but it's on a timer, so be quick, since if you miss this, it's a fail. Chow and access really are the two main duties. Since admittance isn't on a timer or anything, the game just wants you to do it for the credits, which you don't really need, but for two things, which I'll get into later. But really, these two are all you need to focus on, and you can once again practice this duty on the duty training screen. So we now have another duty, and this is the last one we'll get for the rest of the game. We get another email from unknown. Subject: searching. Yes, you know I'm here. I will find you soon. Have fun together? Once again, I'm just gonna ignore that. And last, once again, is from security with more inmates, with only one new inmate being introduced, and that's Gen Pop. PSA: got beef? Squash it with words, not fists. Reading on Gen Pop: name, multiple, grade, B. Behavior: Gen Pop roams the halls of the prison during lockdown. Without any sketchy methods to get past the sensors, they will set off an alarm above a door. So for this guy, you'll hear and see the flash above one of the two doors, and all you have to do is run and stand next to the door in a blind spot. So when he breaks in, he won't see you and he'll leave. It's all very quick, so think fast and try not to be far away from the doors. Biography: Gen Pop represents a large percentage of the prison population being dangerous individuals that do not possess unique characteristics. Thieves, murderers, dealers, stalkers, and such. Gen Pop are the run-of-the-mill convicts that you don't want to mess with. So Gen Pop isn't a person, but a group of people that are out for blood and just want to break into your office and kill us for the fun of it. So not too much introduced this night, but it is ramping up, now with 3 tasks and the convicts getting more dangerous. So I clocked in, filled out some forms just cause why not. Power went off and then Shane showed up, so that was perfect timing. Made some burnt soup. So this night was a breeze, getting 1 wrong and collecting 20 credits, since I kind of just focused on the other tasks this night. Mail time. Top one being from Merchant. New stock. I wanted to inform you that I have a very important item that you might want to purchase. The access bypass is available now. Come visit me ASAP. So this is what we spend our credits on. The Merchant. So right behind us on this monitor is a face that tells us he has things to sell. He has useful stuff that will help it make the convicts easier to deal with and the nights just easier in general. But I didn't use any of these things the whole run, since I just wanted to beat this game the hardest way. I never really found myself needing these things. Things like see better in the dark, sprinklers to remove the pits, and other things to help fight against the convicts and make it less annoying and have something to work for. And like I said, I didn't use this, but the Merchant is super useful in co-op, and you get an achievement if you buy 5 things from him, so he's always there if you need him. But one thing he does have that is actually the cheapest item is an access bypass, what he mentioned in the email. And buying this for only 5 credits, this is where the game goes up a whole nother level in terms of its lore. Going to our computer, now at the bottom it reads access secure networks. Clicking it, we see a bar to log into accounts, with you needing a username and password. So from here, let's get back to the emails, with one under the Merchant being from Ominis, the person that designed and runs all the technology in the prison. Introducing myself. Going to keep this quick as Stacy forced me to do this. He goes by the name Ominis online. He explains how he designed the tech, and then mentions how he noticed we haven't been given a network login yet. We'll get one in the coming days. We don't, by the way. But for now, he just tells us to use the guest user account instead. Guest being highlighted as it being the username, and the password for it is pass123. Outstanding password. So we can now log into the network, but first let's finish the emails and save that for last. With 1 email left, and you guessed it, another convict being called Crag. PSA: sloppy joes are meant to be eaten, not smeared on the walls. I don't agree with this one, because that's what everyone does with sloppy joe. What else are you supposed to do with a sloppy joe? Now looking into the database, name Craig Donaldson, grade S. Crag will assimilate into the room still as a statue. He will not move when his body is being perceived. His likeness will manifest itself into a portrait in the office. Once the portrait is located, interact with it to dispel him. So pretty simple. You'll hear him enter the room, and once he does, keep eyes on him, since he works like a weeping angel or a coil head, as if you look away from him, he'll sneak up to you. So just find the right painting, which you'll hear whispers coming from, click on it, and he'll disappear. This guy's really annoying when it's dark or a lot going on. He's a pain and will just catch you off guard and make things harder for you. So I'd say this is the first really big threat of an inmate. Biography. Craig Donaldson ran a serious operation, a drug dealing business that operated reported on a global scale. He has been noted to be a very calm and timid person who chooses to flee instead of fight. He met his demise when a high-ranking officer in his operation tried to overtake the business, and Craig lost the throne. He was betrayed and tossed into a large industrial rock crusher, turning him to powder. His arrival at Corden Island remains a mystery. And that's all the emails, so now it's time to mess around with the network. Logging into the guest account, we see mail and files. Checking the mail, we have a welcome message from Doug, which is just a basic corporate email. We also have one that was sent from Omnis. I forgot the login. Hey Omnis, it's Shin here. I forgot the login to Doug's account. I also got logged out. I remember the username being Doug and Dog, but I can't remember the password. Wasn't it something like his dog's name and his own age as the password? So reading this, we know another account we can log into. Doug's. We just need to figure out the password. And if you remember, he said his age, and I said to remember it. So we just have to wait and see when his dog's name gets brought up, and we can log in. Now exiting out of that and going to files, there's two files. First one being a text file titled Guidelines. And it's, well, just the guidelines of the place. Recording is prohibited, keep 5 meters from the patients, and so on. At the bottom reading, scrap this? We haven't let guests stay on the island for a long time now. Omnis. Now the final file is a folder titled Secret, containing another text file titled Warning. You aren't meant to be here. Please leave immediately and check nothing else in this directory, unless you are Omnis, Stace, or Shin. And backing out, there's a photo titled Graffiti. It's a photo of our office with an arrow pointing to a specific point. Backing out and going to said spot, we see graffiti on the wall reading, "If I die, NLX22. This obviously is another password, but we don't have the username. So that's all we can do for this night on the network. So it's time to clock in and get through the night. This day throws way more at you. This is like the night that you really have to lock in, since this is the halfway point. Ran into Crag. This guy is so annoying. But overall, got through the night fine. Ending the night with 65 credits. Been a while, but we have an email from Doug. He says we're doing amazing and he doesn't have any more things to teach us. And he's got to go since he's typing this while sitting next to his little pup, Basil, and he's demanding some petting. So take care. And now we know Doug's login, since we have his dog's name and age. So after this mail, we can log in and see. Looking, there's another email from unknown. Found you. I found friend. Will come to play today. Looking forward to. Come play today. Oh no. And last, like always, new convict being Happy. PSA. Smile. Checking on Happy. This is a very funny and interesting convict. Name unknown, grade F. Behavior. That eerie grin never seems to fade. A lonely individual who yearns for any form of social interaction. Seems to be mostly harmless. So this guy is super simple. He'll come into your office randomly and just follow you around and smile at you. Won't hurt you, but later on, if there's a lot going on, he will get in your way and it will be really annoying. But overall, he's just a friendly dude and wants to be around someone. Biography. Happy lived a very rough life. His parents provided no opportunity for a childhood, keeping him cooped up in a room behind a chain door. It wasn't until many years later he broke through the chain door to discover that his parents were nothing more than rotting corpses lying on the ground in the kitchen. The neighbors reported a strange odor coming from the house, and once the police showed up to investigate, they didn't even notice Happy's presence. So Happy walked straight out the front door without being stopped. Jailed Maddox brought Happy to the island after discovering the odd individual wandering through the city unnoticed by the public. Jailed has a special place for this individual. I'm not sure why. So this guy, you really gotta feel sorry for him since he's just special, man. He's special. But whoever wrote the biography doesn't seem to be too fond of him. But this guy is chill and he has aura, so you know. So mail over, now it's network time. Starting with logging into Doug's account. Logging in with Doug and Dog as the username and the password being Basil52. Checking mail first, there's quite a bit of mail. There being something from Omnis about a security warning, about how one of the volunteers is stealing confidential information, and how this is a serious matter that needs to be dealt with ASAP. And by looking into an external network, user 4100, the mail was sent to an external account. But who is this user 4100? Well, backing out, we can see an email Doug sent to 4100, a warning, and clicking it, we can see this is user 4100. Dude, have you been searching in places where you shouldn't? I checked in the other day and you were not in your office. It'd also be great if you stopped tagging the office with graffiti. And remember, we had that photo labeled graffiti, which displayed numbers resembling a password. So this person graffitied his password in the office so that a future person could log in, since it seems like he's figured out something about this place we don't know. And then with the username being said to us, this is yet another network we can log into later. And from this side of things, we can actually see the mail that Doug has wrote to us this whole time. And we can see the same emails we've gotten from Doug sent to others. But last is the files, a folder labeled Identity identity and a notepad called alias. This is just Doug's ID card, his age, email, and fun facts, like how he likes to go rock climbing. But nothing we don't already know is here. Looking at the notepad next to the folder titled Current, and this tells us about user 4100. Role, administration. Notes, marked for removal, whistleblower, suspicions. And there's more details on other people that worked here, like a chef that got frontal lobe damage, and a therapist that was caught on the cameras jumping into the sea. And at the bottom, 4334, first use of chip implant. Seems very good so far. Doesn't talk or respond, but understands instructions. So Doug also sent emails to 4334, which were the emails we were sent when we started. So are we this 4334? Are we being tested on with a chip implant? Or is this someone else who used to work here and these messages are just automated? I guess we'll have to keep digging. And that's it for Doug's file. So let's log into user 4100's account. Logging in and checking mail, we see very important stuff. Sent to LPL News, you need to look into Corden Island. So this is why he was removed for whistleblower. Because in this email, he's contacting a news station, telling them about how awful this place is, saying he doesn't have much time and needs help, and to send anyone and bring weapons. The email under that is the news station responding, "Thanks for sending in the news suggestions. We have tried to look further into this story. None of our sources have any information on a place named Corden Island. Could you please provide more information so we can pursue this story?" Not the best response. This is very underwhelming for how desperate he sounded on the email. And the final email is just the warning Doug sent. Files time, with a file called Cute Cats. But spoiler, there isn't any cute cats. Inside is a logs notepad and a photo titled Certificate. Looking into the notepad, it's logs between Shin, Omnis, and Stacy talking, and this is all very important with it reading. Shin: "This isn't what Dad would have wanted." Omnis: "Dad has been gone for years now. It doesn't matter what he would have wanted. Give it up, Shin." Shin: "It doesn't feel right to do this. Everyone thinks he's still out there, making an actual difference for these convicts. What you're doing is just wrong." Stacy: "We're getting closer to a breakthrough, day by day. The trials have already shown proven results. The only issue is the subject's heightened aggression. Once that is mitigated, we can ditch the island for good." Shin: "Ditching the island? You don't understand. I wanted to continue what the Maddox family promised. Do you two even care about Mom anymore?" Omnis: "Keep talking like that, Shin, and I will ban you from the prison network. You'll say goodbye to that Shin Man 1 account." A lot to unpack here. First, Omnis is another one of Gerald's kids, and Gerald is not alive this whole time. The email we got sent by him was fake and written by someone else, and Shin seems to be the only one who cares about this place and what it was originally meant for. But Omnis doesn't care about it and has bigger plans that aren't in the good faith this place was meant for. And Stacy says they're close to a breakthrough, and once it's done, they can ditch the island, so they have to use this place and don't care about the people in it, and are just keeping things normal so they don't get their cover blown before their big plan is done. Omnis also says he'll delete Shin's account, with us getting the name of the account and only needing the password, which I'm sure we'll dig up later. And looking at the photo that was also in the folder, it's a certificate of death for Gerald Hunter Maddox, showing that the creator and founder of the prison has been dead this whole time, and his kids have been covering it up to use the prison for an experiment. Shin is the only one who cares. It says he was involved in a physical confrontation with chains, and at the bottom, at least we can continue experiments without hiding it from him anymore, showing they really didn't care about their own father, and they were glad this happened. Maybe it happened on purpose. So this place was good, but now under the management of Omnis, it turned to something awful. A place to do trials on inmates for something untold. And that's all we can find today, so clock in time. And at this point, the gameplay is just the gameplay, and the lore is what we're focusing on. Starting now with 6 minutes on the clock, this night really threw it all at me. Finally seeing Jin pop, and happy. Just look at him, a face only a mother could love. Or I low-key flip with him, until he gets into my way when I'm running to something, then I'll curse him out. But he's a cool character and he's super funny in co-op. Happy, please don't move. But once again, another night aced. Only one penalty, with payout being 45 credits. This time at the top of the mail is from Unknown, which is Happy saying, "Thanks. A long time since I had a friend. Very fun. Hope to visit again. You enjoy." Honestly, really sweet. We also have mail from Gerald congratulating us for working here 1 week, which with the news we've learned, we know this isn't Gerald. It's one of his kids that typed this. Most likely Omnis. Or it's automated, but either way, it's fake. And this day is very easy on the mail since the last thing is just the convict and it's only one. Husk. PSA. Dimensional portals are banned during yard time. Speak up if you see it. Database reading. Name, Stefan Tarasov, presumed. Grade S. Husk cannot move while being looked at. He can only move to a position that is visible to him. This means he can pass through the office window if you turn your back on him. So Husk will appear in one of the two windows and you'll hear him. And while keeping your eyes on him, press the lever to close the door. And once it's fully closed, he disappears. He's just like how Crag works, like a weeping angel or Coilhead once again. Keep your eyes on him, and if you don't, he'll teleport to you and one-tap you. Simple enough concept, but with all this to deal with, this guy can get annoying since he requires full attention or you're just cooked because he's a very quick run-ender if you don't hear him. So you gotta really stay alert, which is one thing about this game I like. It makes you heavily rely on audio cues and sounds. So you gotta have volume up and be listening or you'll just not survive a night. Biography. Reports described a figure that stalked within the Chernobyl exclusion zone. People who wander into Husk's domain fell victim to an unfortunate demise. Bodies surfaced at a nearby lake, mangled and beyond recognition. The figure was located in the midst of a dense forest. It was learned the figure won't move if directly stared at in its eyes. This information allowed the capture of the figure. Husk draws a resemblance to a missing person from 50 years ago, a stalker named Stefan Tarasov, who escaped captivity by fleeing into the woods of Chernobyl. He was assumed dead due to the harsh snowy conditions. This guy really makes nights interesting, since you have convicts that make you have to move, and now you have one that you need to be looking at while pressing something. So you know the drill now. Clock in and begin. And this was the first night I lost, losing to Gin Pop because I hid by the wrong door, so I ran it back. Happy came by to say hi again, so I got to stare at his beautiful face while the night ended, collecting 55 credits. Let's see what we got today. Happy left us another email. Grateful. No one likes spending time with me, except you. You my favorite person ever. Look forward to play again. Very wholesome. W Happy. Truly special. We also have 3 emails from Shin, the only normal child of Gerald. Them being, forgot my login, never mind, and another incident. It's just Shin emailing Omnis about how he's having trouble logging in, and he accidentally pressed send all. So that's why we got these emails. For one of the emails, he says he at first thought he was hacked, and how it was probably stupid to have an identical username and password. And we know the username being Shinman1, so we can log into his account after we see what convict we get today. Damon. PSA. Metal detectors are not working for the time being. We know what you did, Paul. Name unknown. Grade S. Behavior. Damon vows to bring death and destruction in his wake. They will summon in the office, and the Damon banishing program displays on a screen in the office. Look around the office for symbols and match with the symbols on the screen. You have a set amount of time, but this is a must-do task, and it's loud, so other things could happen while this is going on, making it a very stressful task. Things really ramp up now. Biography. This unknown individual was never brought onto the island. Leading theories suggest that the prison was built on an ancient sacrificial site. Perhaps the construction of the concrete jungle awoken the old spirits. Omnis brilliantly managed to design a way to keep the spirit at bay with the banishing program. So this guy is a pain, very chaotic, but to banish him is simple enough, and it can get overwhelming with the other things. Now it's network time, the best time. Logging in with Shin's account knowing Shinman1 is the username and password, and checking the mail, there's one email titled, Sent to Omnis, quick question. Hey Adnan, this right here is very important. This is where Omnis gets doxed and his real name is said. Shin then says how Stay showed him the chip implant thing that they're using on the new volunteers. He says how he has a metal shoulder plate from when they were messing around years ago, and he's making sure the chips won't freak out or explode if he gets too close because of the metal plate. A mostly normal email, as normal as an email about planting chips and new people they hire can get. But the name drop is very important. Keep it in mind. Now checking files, there's a lot here, starting with a text file titled Dear Dad. It's a notepad of Shin writing about his dad, reading, You know, Dad, I never thought it would come to this. You'd probably shake your head if you saw what Stace and Adnam have done with the prison. It was supposed to be a place for rehabilitation and second chances, like you taught us, but now I don't even recognize it anymore. I'm thinking about turning it over to the news. All the records, boats would be here by dawn. It would be chaos. But the thought of betraying my own family, it makes my stomach turn. Wherever you are, I hope you're resting peacefully. Could really use your guidance right now. A really sad note, and showing more that Shin is the only family member that cares about this place for what it was made for. Next text file is titled To-Do List. Activate the machine daily. Important. Run background checks on the recent volunteers. Learn to meditate. Improve chain security. Stace asked. Hey, didn't this guy kill y'all's dad? Why is he still here? Or at least not in the best secured room y'all got? And last and most important on the to-do list, perfect the bacon and egg sandwich. All priority should just be on that. And last in here is a folder titled Important Stuff. stuff. And in it is a text file titled Instructions, which reads, "Hey Shin, this is your most important role that you must fulfill every day. The room has a lot of wiring parts. Don't touch anything unnecessary. Activate the switch at precisely 2033. Stay in the room until the main lights come back on. The convicts will roam around during the downtime. We are slowly moving them closer to the volunteers to take that heat off our backs." And that's all. Just a simple list of important things to do. So with that, that's all in Shin's account. So it's time to clock in for another amazing shift. Never gets old. The night started slow, but then out of nowhere kicked into overdrive, with Damon showing up, Happy and Crag and Jim Pop, and I somehow got through it all. I'm just such a good worker. Like, I better get a raise after this, or at least like free dinner or something. Crag popped up again. Like 2 in one night is something, man. And speaking of 2 in one night, Damon said hi yet again, and because of all the noise, Huss got me. This would have actually been an insane run, and it just got ruined. After dealing with all this crap, oh, hey Happy, running on top of a sacred hole to die to this. Like, look how I died here. All my homies hate Crag. This MF shows up way too much. Like, it's not about you, bro. A couple more nights, and I got through this night collecting 60 credits. With the top of the email saying B from Emergency Clause reading, "Hello. As one of the primary benefactors of Gerald's operation on the island, I've always kept in the loop regarding the prison's affairs. However, this recent silence is troubling, and it leads me to fear the worst. Per our prior discussions, Gerald entrusted me with the responsibility to share his network login details with you should anything happen to him. I'm unclear on his exact intentions, but I'm fulfilling his final request. Username, GFresh. Password, Rebirth. I sincerely hope that Gerald found peace in the end. Best regards, B." So we now have Gerald's login, but before that we have another email from our favorite convict, Happy. "Good news. Met new friend today, Stace. She say I'm special, needed for very special task tomorrow, but will still come see you." This is worrying since this makes me think that they're using Happy to be tested on for the chip implants, since that's Stace's whole thing and Happy is special. And she even says she needs someone not hostile to test on, but hopefully this won't happen. New convict time. This time we get 2 instead of just 1, which has been a minute, and them being Dex and Fume. PSA. Plan for the future. Join the budgeting club. Looking at Dex first. Name, Derek Raker. Grade C. Behavior. Dex's condition left him brain dead. His muscle memory leads him to attempt to lockpick any door he sees, even when they are unlocked. Dex makes noise when trying to pick a lock. Hold the door shut when you hear it being lockpicked. So this is why the doors say hold shut on them. Just listen out and hold the door till it stops. Another one that heavily relies on sound and you having to determine the door the sound is coming from. And this makes you turn your back to the room, so it leaves you very open. Biography. Dex is a notorious kleptomaniac. His exceptional skill in unlocking anything secured made him a master burglar. After his capture, he was given immunity as long as he assisted the police in their investigation of an evasive serial killer. While searching the home of a suspect, Dex found himself ensnared in a deadly trap, locked in a room as fire erupted around him. He desperately tried to pick the lock, only to realize that the door was welded shut on the other side. Trapped, he was left to burn. Miraculously, Dex was pulled from the flames. He had severe burns covering his body, and most of his brain had melted, leaving him in a vegetative state for months. Against all odds, he made a slow and grueling recovery, but his criminal tendencies had taken a far more sinister turn. Bodies began appearing in homes that had been burgled, signaling that Dex had evolved into something far more dangerous. A killer. Holy, this guy has a long biography. My question is, why let him go after he recovered if they saw a change? The last is Fume. Name, Joel Ivory. Grade B. Behavior. Fume tampers with the pipes throughout the prison, injecting his own chemicals that can asphyxiate. The pipes will build pressure and burst. During the red valve will open the emergency release and prevent the room from filling up with fumes. This is another one that makes you have to drop what you're doing, since this is top priority. You hear a loud pipe burst sound, and then you just press the valve and it will stop. But it's fast, and like I said, it's top priority, since it will end your run very quick. Biography. The sole chef of a mass-scale narcotics production operation, Joel sold bottled inhalants that provide an intensely euphoric sensation. His empire thrived until it was exposed, saying what he created could never be replicated. Now residing in Corton Island, it has been observed that he possesses a rare and unsettling ability. He can produce the drug endogenously. This means that the chemical, with all its potent and lethal properties, is generated entirely within his body, making him a living, breathing source of the substance. Brody's built different, holy. So I then logged into Gerald's account, username being GFresh and password being Rebirth. Logging in, and you know the drill, checking mail. We see an email Gerald sent to the B person that gave us his login. It's a normal message saying how Gerald is seeing great progress with the convicts they sent him. Handling their unique abilities and backgrounds has been a huge challenge, but it's paying off. off. Thanks again for your support. I'll keep you posted on how things devolve. Sincerely, Gerald. There's another email sent to Miss Maddox, aka Stace, about earlier. Hey there, 44Stace3. Do we use the usernames when talking here? I'm still adjusting to all this digital stuff, but it seems your brother Omnis did a great job setting it up. I wanted to talk about what happened with Chains. It wasn't your fault. I understand that things get heated. I'm really concerned about how we handled it. Chains is already a difficult case, and we need to be extra careful not to provoke him further. And he just goes on more about Chains. But in the next email, it's labeled, sorry. I'm really sorry for how things went with Chains. I didn't mean to push him that far, and I'm genuinely sorry for any trouble that might have caused. I'll take full responsibility. And make sure to discuss with Shin about improving our security protocols. And just call people by their real names. So this explains how he died to Chains. It says that he pushed him too far, so he went back to do whatever he was doing to Chains, and this time it ended bad. And the whole don't use real names thing is clearly because they don't want their real names linked to this, just their network names. They've had this plan from the beginning. They really didn't care. Who knows, maybe they were the ones that angered Chains to kill their dad, so they could use this place for their benefits. But that's just my theory. Files time! With a folder labeled Journal, with 3 text files, 1, 2, and 3. Reading these, they're, well, journal entries, where he talks about how the island has been turned into a place of his dreams, and how his kids are thrilled. He's met a person that struck up an unexpected partnership, and he believes in the island's methods and is sending over convicts. This is that B person. He talks about how the convicts have supernatural abilities, and that Stace has been particularly intrigued by them. And among the new arrivals is Crag, and he has everyone on edge, except Stace. And Crag became Stace's favorite, so much so that he saw her set up her network password to Crag's last name. Very important, since we now know Stace's username from Gerald and now her password. But in the final notepad, he mentions that while visiting a friend, he noticed a person sitting alone on the curb. He approached him and tried to strike up a conversation with him, but he didn't say a word, just smiled, talking about Happy. He talks about Happy and how he's ignored and people just walk past him like he isn't there. He didn't sense any anger from him, just profound calmness. So he brought him to Corden Island since he believes he'll be taken care of and he can find help and some sense of belonging. So we get that Gerald made this place to generally help people. This isn't a bad dude. This place wasn't supposed to be bad, but we can learn more since it's time to log into Stace's account. Putting 44Stace3 as a username and looking at the database on Crag, his last name reads Donaldson. So the password is Donaldson, and now we're in. In mail is something Stace sent to Omnis. Implant successful. The initial implant tests on the volunteers have been successful. I've included detailed information in the report I sent over yesterday. With these implants, we now have significantly more control over the volunteers. This should prevent any further incidents. There's also an email from Omnis which says, when the time comes. Shed. One word to set everything in motion. As you know, we've been working tirelessly to achieve what we set out to do after Dad left us. The creation of the perfect strain. While we haven't discovered it yet, I put together a plan for when we do, as I'm certain that day is coming. The moment I give the signal, we'll destroy everything. Every trace of this island, both digital and physical. I've already established a protocol that will wipe the entire network within 12 hours of activation. When this plan begins, my account will be accessible. You'll be able to retrieve the records we need. My username is my real name, and the password will be Shed. As for the island, we'll burn it to the ground. Starting from the room with the device, the fire should spread rapidly, consuming the entire prison. We'll make sure to disable the sprinkler system too. The volunteers will be blocked in their offices. With any luck, the video will keep them engaged, enough that they won't resort to running into the doors to bash them open until it's too late. I haven't told Shin about this plan. I don't think he'd agree with what we're prepared to do. Once I give the word, be ready. This is a big moment in the game. Omnis mentions how we will be stuck in here to burn because he just has to give the word and the prison goes up in flames. And Omnis mentions what his login is. And if we can access it, that means it's been done, saying the password is Shed and the username is his real name, which Shin said a few nights back, it being Adnan. And we can't log in, so the plan hasn't started yet. Now looking at the files in Stace's login, it's 3 notepads containing blood types on convicts. Like Chains, which is blood type is unusable. The one I can assume is either a strain like they said or with the chips to test on. The next sample is from Damon, which is also unusable, and the third note is for Happy, which reads, extremely promising, recommending full harvest immediately. Harvest? And he left an email saying Stace is taking him for something special. It might be too late and Happy has gotten his blood harvested, and that's it for Stace's network. Feels strange to just clock in after all this info we've learned, but we gotta continue. We're in way too deep now. So another day, another awful work environment. There's now 7 minutes on the clock. And forget about doing admittance. Credits are pointless. It's clock in and lock in time. Hey, Happy's okay. Let's go. Hey man, between you and me, just stay in here. Trust me, they're trying to harvest your blood, right? It's better in here. Everything seems pretty Oh god damn. No bro, you are not coming in. And as I was holding the door, the night ended, collecting 45 credits and now moving on to
Dead.
This is the in-game night. Top of the mail is an email with no subject and contains one word. Shed. The word that, if said, will set everything into motion. This was meant for Stacy, but was probably accidentally sent to us, so now we know the plan has been set off. So we have little time left before this place is turned to ash, so we need to uncover the last clues of this place. The next email is another convict, so only 2 emails today, setting the mood that we need to hurry. With this being our last convict, Snag. PSA, cook with care. Never leave food unattended. A safe kitchen is a happy kitchen. Let's see what Snag is about. Name, Gene Mason. That's an unfortunate last name. Grade D. Behavior. Snag is incredibly stealthy, using darkness and blind spots to move around without being seen. He silently sets his own homemade traps, set to disorient when a person draws near. These traps can be serious night enders. It will confuse you, make your controls backwards, and mess up your vision. And you can get close to them and disarm them, but with them blending in and with the dark floor, you'll for sure get caught off guard and step on one. Biography. Gene is a master craftsman, but he sadly veered into a dark and twisted path. Under his charming exterior lies a sadistic serial killer, luring unsuspected victims to his meticulously crafted torture house, a place where no one ever saw the light of day again. He grew bored discarding his victims like worn-out playthings. After claiming his 50th victim, Gene turned himself in. Whether this was a moment of guilt or a final act of triumph remains unknown. He's formed a loyal gang in the prison that will smuggle contraband wherever he desires. So now, it's time. Since Omnis said the word, that means we should be able to access his network. And checking his mail, it's all been deleted, showing that there's no turning back and the damage has been done. And we are in the in-game now. Looking in files, there's a folder titled Records. Clicking it, we get a screen stating, "This encrypted file contains extensive data on the prison and its events. Sending it to a news agency will likely expose the prison to the world." With 2 options, back and send. So we press send, since this place is going up in flames anyway, and this could be our one way out of here. Evidence sent. Continue your duties for now. So now we clock in for our final time with all the convicts unlocked. And this being to get out of here, so let's make this count. This night is a mess, and everything that gives credits is pointless. It's just buy time and survive. This night took a few tries. What I ended up doing is I would just sit in a corner, wait, and just let the night play out. Just until I heard like the beep of chow or something actually important, then I would move from the corner. But after a long 7 minutes, the night was complete, with payout being 50 credits, which is pretty good even though I didn't even try. I just survived. And this day starts with a video on screen that says confidential. So we press play.
Greetings, loyal assistant. The Court of Island Institute for Rehabilitation would like to thank you for your contribution. You have helped to create a safe environment for convicts to feel happy and homely. We are all very proud of you. We have deemed that your work is no longer necessary. Your superior... And then we see fire. The whole office is going up in flames. So if you remember, when they were talking about this plan, they said the people in the office would burn and can't just break through the doors and escape. So we do just that, running into the doors over and over and over until they break open and we hear the sounds of us escaping and jumping into the water that surrounds the island to escape. And the credits roll. Death in Unison, the whistleblower. With this being one of the 2 endings, this is the good ending. With the other ending, you stay in the office and burn, not escaping. That one reading, "Till death do us part" at the end, on the credits. And that's the game. A really solid game. There's also the co-op mode, which is really fun and tense, and more tense I'd say than the solo game. And I'll just show some gameplay of when I streamed it with a friend to sell that point.
Alright, first guy. Mohammed, spelled exactly how you think it is.
How is it spelled? There's like 40 different Mohammeds. That's why you need to spell it out! Thug it out, please!
I'm gonna give you a name, okay?
Okay. Smiling guy's trying to grip me.
What's the code? He's harmless. Let him do it.
I what? 5168! He's gonna kill me!
Let him do it. We
I don't
need
want to.
pass.
5168!
C to B.
Yes! Yes! Yeah! As long as I sit here and nothing bad happens, we're good. Please!
They got me. They got me. Ah!
No!
Holy crap, demon.
What is that? No! The symbols, the symbols! Match the symbol!
Pick up the phone. Ah!
So yeah, the co-op is super fun and is definitely a good thing to stream or just mess around with a friend. But now, I'm gonna quickly touch on the game's lore. So it's pretty simple to understand this game's lore. It does a good job laying it out for you, but there's some unanswered questions. Like, what is the strain they're making for? What was so special about Happy's blood that they needed it for something? Something so important they burned down their dad's business. And was their dad's death planned? And what happened to Shin? Are we the ones with the chip implant in us? And many more questions that I'd like to hear y'all's takes on, since these could maybe get answered for us, because as I was editing this, since I take so long to edit, the dev announced he's working on a part 2 and it will be even more fleshed out. So that is super exciting. Dev, please add me in the game. I'll give you $7 and a copy of Wii Fit. But all jokes aside, I'm very hyped for this since I really did enjoy this game. And also, as I was editing this, the game hit its 1-year anniversary. So yeah, basically what I'm saying here is if you decide to support this channel, my upload schedule is atrocious and you'll be waiting a while for some new content. But I also stream and do shorts every now and then, so it evens out, kind of. Also want to say thanks to these 2 Steam users for making this big fleshed out guide on the game. This really helped me to look at and read and not lose track of all the emails and other things, so I could figure out the lore and not take even longer than I did to make this video. So thank you so much for this super great work. But yeah, that's Death in Unison, a really fun horror game that reminds me of FNAF and what FNAF could have been. But instead, an indie dev did it and did a great job with the storytelling, lore, sound design, enemies, and more. Highly recommend getting this game. Even though you've watched this, you can at least still do the co-op since it's fun, and if you stream this game, it's really fun. It's a good buy. With the co-op gameplay being completely different and there being a different ending, which I'll not spoil, and just other little things in co-op to not make it feel like you're just playing the same game again. And there's also a secret day called Day Minus, which you get by buying a card from the merchant, and then you log into an account, and then you can start Day Minus, which is basically hard mode, and Happy is with you the whole night, and you face every convict. So a fun thing to do after you beat the game, for an extra challenge, and something to use your credits on, and you also get an achievement, and the mode can be played in solo and co-op, so you can suffer with a friend. So that's the game. I played all it has to offer, looked at all its secrets, and fully 100%ed the game. It's a super fun game with a lot of charm and fun horror ideas put into it, so we can now clock out. And with that, thank you all for watching. I'll see y'all next time.